This is Suchadatta, once again your political science teacher, wanting to tell you about the diversities, the discriminations which are prevalent in the society. Have you ever felt discriminated about being a girl or a boy, about being tall or short, about being fair complexioned or dark complexioned? Have you ever felt that you should have been something else? All these discriminations are prevalent in most of the societies in India as well as outside. We are talking of democracy and diversity. Democracy is the best form of government that any country can boast of. You all know, and I keep stressing on, that democracy is a government of the people, by the people, for the people. That means representation of the people at all levels. Whether they vote or they get elected, they sit in the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, so they are all everywhere. When we are all everywhere and everything looks very rosy, then why are there diversities in the world? Why do people keep fighting over petty issues? Is somebody of the other religion or somebody belongs to a different caste? These are the major issues which take up the form of a big conflict. But actually, before we start with this chapter, democracy and diversity, there are few new terms which you all must know about. First is the social division. The social division means when there are differences between people on the basis of caste, color, creed, gender, these are all social divisions that we have. That is, people have divided themselves into watertight compartments on the basis of the divisions of caste, creed, color and gender. Then we have social differences. As the word suggests, that was division, this is difference. Difference means when people are different, they feel different because they are rich or poor, because they belong to haves or haves not. That creates differences in the society. Next, civil rights movement. This movement was started in America by Martin Luther Jr. in the year 1954. This movement was almost like the movement that we saw in India, the civil disobedience movement. That is, people decided that they are going to protest against all the injustice, all the inequality of the American government, that is the blacks. They thought of it, but in a very peaceful way. That is, the demonstration would be very, very peaceful. Next, African Americans. African Americans are those people who live in America and their ancestors migrated from Africa. That is, they were made as slaves to come and work in the plantations. Because of their complexion, they are often called as blacks in America, sometimes even Negroes, and they are better termed as African Americans since they have their roots in Africa and are staying in America. Next is the Black Power. Now this movement, that is the Black Power, was started in the year 1966. This was very different from the civil rights movement, which was started by Martin Luther Jr. This was started in 1966, and they thought that if peaceful demonstrations cannot work, they'll even resort to violence. That is, they take up violence in order to get all round equality. They wanted all the discrimination based on racism to be finished, to be eliminated in America. Next, we have the overlapping differences. Again, the word suggests overlapping. That is, one difference, one division is already there. and it is combined with the second one, which makes it very, very deep. For example, the difference between the blacks and the whites in America, and it gets deepened when we know that the blacks are socially and economically a weaker section and the rich are the Americans, the white ones. So, it is an overlapping difference, that is, the blacks are poor and homeless, whereas the whites are rich and have all the basic amenities of life. So, this is overlapping difference. Next, cross-cutting differences. This sounds something good because whatever the differences are, they get resorted due to one factor, and that is, supposing there is a difference between two set of communities over an issue, but they both feel that they agree on a particular issue, which makes the division less. So, the cross-cutting differences in fact can do a great deal in lessing down the diversities, the social divisions, the social differences in the society. Next is the homogeneous society. Homogeneous society is that society when nearly all people living in a country belong to an ethnic group, the same group. And this kind of example we see in Germany, where most of the people belong to one ethnic race. Then we have the migrants. Migrants are those people who move from one area to another in the country itself, or they move from one country to another country, and most of the time it is for economic reasons, it is for money. And when migrants move, then it is a threat to a homogeneous society, because the migrants, they carry their culture, they carry their differences that they have to the society, to the country where they actually go and settle. Next we have the multicultural community. The best example of a multicultural community can be seen in India itself, when people belong to different communities, culture, caste, and they all stay together. That is when we say that there is unity in diversity in India. That is the same multicultural community that we all are talking about. Then we have minority. Minority is in fact that segment of the society wherein the population of that group is less than half of that country. Then they fall into the category of minorities, and the minorities can be different at the center and the state level. It could be that in the center a particular group is in minority and the same group can be in a majority in a state. So, these are all the new terms that you must be aware of before we actually pick up the topic democracy and diversity. Of course, it is very, very sad to note down that the best form of governments to have diversities, and these diversities lead to further conflicts, and it has taken the shape of almost even terrorism in the world today, because the social divisions, the social differences can lead to a very, very big difference in the society itself.